Hello and welcome to another episode of the Restaurateur. I'm your host, JD. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing or giving us a follow, depending on where you're watching or listening to this from. So you'll stay up to date with the latest business discussions that we have here that could actually help you run your business or live your life in general. I know it's been a couple of months since my last upload, and I'm deeply sorry if you guys waited and it didn't come up with anything the past couple of months. I've just been busy with a lot of things with the restaurants that we're running and trying to balance my life and this MBA degree that I'm trying to get right now at the moment. That being said, this is the first episode of Season 2 of the Restaurateur. Yes, that's right. 2021 means it's now time for Season 2. And what can you expect? Well, you'll see more of me talking about technical stuff about marketing and restaurant business. But at the same time, I'd also have a few episodes this season that'll feature people that you can learn from aside from me, including my professors in the master's degree, some friends of mine who are influencers, and others who are also restaurant owners who have their own tips and tricks for you. Without further ado, let's start this season right by stepping back a little bit from the more technical side of things and talk a little bit more about myself and the lessons that I've learned when I was still starting my own business. Hopefully, the stories that I will share with you today will give you some insights and some inspirations to actually chase that dream of finally having your own restaurant or your own food brand in the market. I am actually a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Nursing. I know, it's kind of a far cry from what I'm doing right now, which is related to business and food. I did not have any business background when I started, and I didn't have a culinary experience to back up the food that I'm cooking. But one thing is for sure, I was passionate about what I was doing when I decided that I would go full force on the restaurant industry. But my childhood growing up began in a family that didn't have any business savviness to it. You know, I was raised in a family who valued education and career more than anything. And I'm not really ashamed to say that that's how my parents brought us up, because the sacrifices that they did living that kind of life paid off by having us siblings graduate and chase the careers that we want right now. So I took up nursing back then in 2006 because it was the most popular choice for people my age back then. The plan was to study nursing here, finish, get my license, work a little bit, go abroad, make some more money there, come back here a few years later, and invest that hard-earned money into some property or some business that I want to start. So looking at that whole plan, business was really my end goal. I had to go through all these things just to get to my end goal, which is to start a business. Anyways, to tell you up front right now, even if I finished nursing and got my license, I didn't really end up practicing my profession because I had a few things that happened to me along the way that allowed me to start my restaurant without going through those things that I planned before. But before I get to that, in between my graduation and in between the licensure exam, there was a few months worth of gap. And during those months, I decided probably I should try something out to pass the time while waiting for the board exam to make money, right? And the easiest thing that I could think of was to get some food item over the internet, learn it, make it, and try to sell it. And I stuck with steamed buns. And if you haven't seen that episode about my first business called the steamed buns, I forgot the episode, but I'm just going to put the link here if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're listening on Spotify, I'm just going to put the link to that episode on the description. So here I am making steamed buns, selling them, and making quite a bit of money for myself at that time. And I was making quite a considerable amount of money that I started buying equipment to make the procedures of making the steamed buns better and to accommodate more and more orders. And I saw the potential of doing this kind of thing for the long term. That's why I invited a couple of friends of mine, my best friends since high school, best friends for a long, long time, to put together a company that concentrated on steamed buns. But I didn't have enough money that time, so I invited them over in case they wanted to invest on the idea. They actually loved the idea, In fact, we gathered in a coffee shop one day because one of them said that his dad was willing to support the project, to support the idea. And when we got there, his dad was there, and he offered us something really great. I mean, to say the least, you know? We were talking about the idea. We explained to him how the steam buns would be made, where we're going to be distributing them, stuff like that. And suddenly, he presented us with the money, right? That he thinks would fund the project. But it ended up to be something more. We weren't expecting that amount of money to be given to us, but the opportunity was there. And the funding was so good that we didn't really have to stick to the idea of getting a small steam bun factory going. We could actually go on and make a restaurant, a full-blown restaurant. And here we are. After that talk, after so many months of working on it and planning things right, here we are 10 years later. Well, of course, it wasn't really an easy decision to make because I already had my plans set for my life. And I'm sure my best friends also had the same idea because we took up the same course at the same class at the same school. And going away from the idea that we originally built for ourselves was kind of tough. And knowing that my parents worked hard for years to pay for my education to get me there was kind of holding me back as well. The guilt of not being able to give them the image of the son that they were picturing from all those years of studying, right? And it was one of those things that was hardest for me to get over with, to actually choose the decision to do business instead of going to work as a nurse abroad. But the thing is, they ended up being supportive anyway. Probably they just didn't show the disappointment that of me choosing a different path than that was intended, but they were supportive nonetheless. And that's how I got so far here, because the people that I worked with, my couple of friends, the people behind me, my family and my loved ones, they were all supportive. And that's really important if you want to go into business, to find like a great support system and people who you can really work with through all the years, right? But one of the biggest takeaways from this part of my story, my beginning, my origin story is, you know, I was supposed to follow a fixed path that I set up for myself, but an opportunity presented itself to us. So right then, when the opportunity popped out of nowhere, we had to choose which path we should take, because we couldn't have both. I can't be a nurse abroad and have a restaurant running here. No, I had to choose one. Now, the choice that I made was really obvious, but that's one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs must have at the beginning. It's not just about the great idea of you having a food item that you might want to sell. It's also about weighing the costs, weighing the risks, weighing what else you will leave behind, the other opportunities that you will leave behind to pursue just one thing. Because I tell you, it's going to take your whole heart, your whole body, your whole soul to drag your business, your restaurant business, from zero to hero. Now, I understand not a lot of people will get this opportunity. So what do you do if no one's out there to fund you? If you're in that position, choose what's less stressful for you. Don't be afraid to say no to the business opportunity right now. There's no wrong decision as long as you thought of it really well, as long as you've considered all your options and that you could live with the choice that you make later on. If the opportunity is there and it outweighs every other choice that you have, then it's time for you to take it. Not just take it though, live it and make the most out of it.